Hey, I'm Aaron Jack, and today we're going to have guest Kat Tesla. So she'll be joining us shortly. I'll just hold it up. There we go. For everybody who's new coming on here, we're just going to be having a little art discussion with Kat Tesla today. So here we go. We will bring it all together. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey.
Hey, Aaron, how are you?
Good. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Hanging in there.
I hear you. I hear
It's
you.
been a crazy year, right?
Oh my God, 2020, right? How has your art, how have you been in this time?
I think I've been like most people. I've had some good days, some not so good days, but I'm a glass half full person. So I always try to find, the positive, the silver lining, that sort of thing. So I think originally, like many people, there was shock at the beginning, and then that denial of like this can't be happening, and then the acceptance of it is happening. And so I've really just tried to use the time to explore and experiment. I feel like my work is going through a little bit of a change, and I think that's because I've been home so much, and I'm out of the box. I'm out of I feel very out of place versus my normal life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very strange place to be. Also, I want to say hi to Ali and T4. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, it's a very strange place to be in this day and age. And what have you been experimenting with?
Well, I find that my main body of work is a series I call the Chrysalis series, and it's an abstraction of nature. And I have done some of that, but I'm finding that I'm just really more drawn to pure non-objective work. And and I have always done non-objective work, but I find that it's becoming more of a pool, and it might be just a way that I'm expressing my anxieties and issues with going through the pandemic, going a little stir crazy.
Yes, there's something about like the non-objectivity that um because we're kind of disconnected, would you say? Or what's it for you? Because I've been finding kind of like the same like need for different things in my art since this happened. What
Yeah,
has that been for you?
yeah, I think for me, it just allows me to kind of pour the emotion out on the canvas. And I always feel better after a painting session. It's every artist's personal therapy, right? So I think that's what it is. It's just an opportunity to express what's inside onto the canvas, which I think every artist does anyway.
For sure. I want to say hi to Julie and Money and yeah, if you see anybody else out there, feel free to, say hey. Um, yeah, like, do you have some work around the studio? I know we have some that I can pull up, but I'm not sure if you're in your studio right now.
Yeah,
That you
my studio. Yeah, I
would
can.
would you
Yeah, I'll show
yeah
you.
would you like yeah show us around
Yeah,
show
I'm
us
gonna.
around.
I have my husband who's gonna help me. So I guess let me just turn this camera around first.
Perfect. I love like the behind the scenes, what's in the artist studio.
So this is my main painting area, and this is my main painting wall. This is a piece I finished recently, and I also paint on this movable wall that my husband built for me. So I use both sides of it. Sometimes on unstretched canvas or paper. So this area is it's about 20 by 15, and this cart has wheels on it, so I can move my palettes closer to whatever wall I'm using. I have a variety of supplies. This is kind of the corner where everything is packed in. There's some organization, but it's a little out of control right now. This table I usually use for smalls, but it's packed with materials right now. But I do have, I haven't shown anybody this. I thought about whether I should show it, and I thought, well, what the heck. So I started.
Why not?
Yeah, I started a pandemic journal. And I'm not really that far along, but I'll show you where I am today.
Yeah, I'd love to see.
Yeah, so I started, I'm kind of returning to collage, which I used to do early on. So I'm experimenting with that. But
Could we get a little closer look on that to see like what you're, yeah. Oh, very cool. So what materials are you using here?
this is, you know, different kinds of papers that I've painted and a little bit of corrugated cardboard. I haven't glued this one down, but and then this is actually a little painting that kind of feels like a collage.
Oh, cool. Cool. So it's like a whole book you have there?
Yeah, so I'll show you the first few pages. This is my
Yeah.
this is my initial response to the pandemic. You know, I just decided to write down everything. So I've got, you know, I need a drink, I'm angry, will I die? You know, how could this happen? I can't sleep, you know, that sort of thing. And then I kind of went into denial. You know, I spent a lot of time just sitting outside meditating. And so, you know, this is what came next. And then, of course, you know, the virus wouldn't go away. So I just painted the virus. And then after doing a lot of hiking, this came out. So I'm just using this as an exploration of my journey through the pandemic.
Wow. Could you tell us what's going on there with the light blue or yeah, just the last few pages. I'd like to learn a little bit more. Like this seems very relevant to the time that we're going through and a lot of people, I mean, myself included, are going through a lot with this. So what's going on here? Could you tell us a little bit more about this and your process?
Sure. I'm using acrylic paint and various drawing mediums in this. On the left side of the page, where all the green is, this is kind of the desire to just hide in nature. You know, nature never changes, so that always feels like a safe haven. And then the other side is kind of stepping back into reality. That there's a dark cloud, and you know, things are a little bit more stark.
Mm. Yeah,
So
so are there any like specific details that you feel like are important here that us as the viewers should maybe understand or look at?
I think for now it's still percolating. You know, it's something that's developing, and I'll be interested to see what happens after this collage page. And I think the collage was really like, you know, the virus numbers are going up, so that's been very frustrating, right? And we're all tired of it. And I think me doing this collage was kind of this craving for order. So this is an orderly placement of objects on the page.
Hmm. So it's your how are you coming to those materials that you're using here? Are they just the ones that you find around, or are they specifically chosen, or how are you coming about that?
They're just in my studio. I use a lot of acrylic and drawing mediums and some oil sticks, that sort of thing. So I have a lot of supplies in here. They're kind of all tucked into the corners. So yeah, I'm just drawing from what I have.
Wow. So what's the most exciting corner of where your media are like stuck, like where you're like, oh, like this is a cool little corner?
Probably here. I have
Yeah, show us this. Show us this cool little creative corner where you pull from and what's on it.
Yeah, so I have, all sorts of drawing materials. I'll just put it out over here.
Oh, wow.
So, different graphites and different types of mark making tools. So it's like the adult's Crayola box, right?
Walk us through what are these things that we're looking at, please?
These are Holbein chalk markers. These are Marabou art crayons. These are Sakura solid markers. Faber-Castell gelatos. Stabilo woodies. They are wax crayons. Various paint markers. Some oil pastels. And different types of charcoal, art graph, Taylor chalk, and some Caran d'Ache neo-pastel. So these are all really fun to use with acrylic paint. And so,
Wow.
I think it's just that urge to scribble something. And
That's so awesome to have like a beautiful box like that you've collected obviously over the years.
I mean, like most artists, I kind of group my materials by type. So,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay.
I've got spray paints, I've got mediums, brushes, and, paints are all in a bin by color, that sort of thing.
Wow. Okay. How do you color code your bins? Like, this is something that I have trouble with. I'm like, okay, how do I organize my media? And you seem to have like a really interesting like system around this. Like,
I can show you the bins. They're not too
yeah,
expensive.
that's so
They're
cool.
a bit of a mess. So, I just have, red, pink, and purple, greens, blues, yellows, and browns, and some grays and dark colors. So,
Wow. And that's all acrylics in there?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I do have oil paints, but I haven't been using them as much lately. I like to use oil paint when I can open up the windows and everything and get better ventilation. And right now, in the summer, we have the AC cranking and everything's closed up tight. So I haven't been using my oil paints quite as much.
Because it's pretty hot out there in Atlanta, right?
Yeah. It's not called hot Atlanta for no reason. So, yeah, definitely hot. I mean, we're in the 90s and we are getting into the dog days of summer.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to go ahead since I'm up. Let me show you around the rest of the
Yeah. Yeah, show us.
So this is my home studio. It's a basement. The ceilings are 9 feet, and so I'll just walk this way. This is a work table where my husband and I varnish work, and I say my husband and I because he's my studio assistant. And we also do shipments on this table. So this is just a multi-use work table. And I left this out. This is a paper painting I did many years ago that I kind of found when I was organizing everything. And I was looking, I often use a mat board to kind of search for interesting parts of a painting. And I really kept going back to all these black lines. And so from those black lines, I'm starting to experiment on paper. And this is completely different than my regular work. And so, this doesn't look like anything that I usually do. So this is my, I guess, pandemic experiment. I'm using collage and acrylic and some drawing media. And these are just started. I don't know where they're going to end up, but the genesis point was that paper painting.
Wow. So you take some of your large paintings or something and you look for little parts and then you try to find pieces that you can bring those out in. Also, Julie's in the comments. Hi, Julie. Feel free to write some questions.
Hi, Julie. Yeah, I think that every artist has a painting within the painting they just completed. And, you know, I'm really trying to take a step back from my work and explore and take little pieces and explore that little part and maybe blow that up and see where that goes. So that's what I've been doing lately. But I'll show you the rest of the
Yeah.
studio. We'll just walk down this hallway to our storage area.
Perfect. Wow, so many cool paintings all along the walls here. Wow.
Yeah, we'll stop on those. So we have kind of this wall of where finished paintings are stored. And I do have some blank canvases and some frames, that sort of thing. We have another storage room where I have large stretched canvas that's ready to go, that's new. And then my husband created this photography area for him to photograph my work. So
Wow.
you know, he painted that wall black, and you know, we have he's actually quite a good photographer, so it's all set up ready to go to photograph work. So, you know, the basement is has worked out wonderfully during the pandemic. But I'll show you a few recent paintings. I had finished this one recently and posted it on Instagram. It's 72 by 48, and it's a non-objective piece.
Wow.
Here's one also that I finished recently, and I think this one is about 52 by 48. This one actually goes this way. It just sold, so we're going to be packaging this up to ship it off soon.
Where did you sell it, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh yeah, so somebody just saw it on my website and bought it. So it's a woman in South Georgia, and I have not really sold anybody to anyone in South Georgia. Talked with her the other day, and she's just thrilled, and she's a hoot. So we had a really fun conversation. She's super excited about the painting, and then
Cool.
these are a couple of my Chrysalis series paintings that I just got out for, you know, to show. And, you know, the Chrysalis series I've been doing for a long time. I've painted over 500 of these. And they always start with just the seed of an idea, or sometimes no idea at all. So this was kind of an idea of knockout roses and my version of abstracting them. I've had a lot of other artists ask about this series over the years, so I decided to put together a workshop about this series. And it's really just a general workshop called Abstracting Nature. And I'm going to be launching that workshop in August. And I'll be teaching people, you know, my tools and techniques that I use to create this series, so that they can, if they want to, create their own abstracted nature painting series.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. How do you really look at nature then? Like what is nature to you? Because you keep coming back to these themes of nature in your work.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and sit down.
Yeah, please. Please do.
You know, for me, nature, hold on, let me just turn this around.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let me get you back on my stand so it'll be easier.
Mm-hmm.
There's some technical difficulties.
That's what I love. That's what I love about these lives is I love like that there's little like technical things that happen, and that's how we know that it's, you know, it's just us chatting and bringing other people in on the experience. It's just
exactly.
It's just us having a chat, bringing people in. So feel free to ask questions in the comments if you have any, and we'll try to see what we can do.
Definitely. Yeah. You know, nature, I think, is it's just always been important. I've always been an avid hiker. I love to garden and bike ride and all that good stuff. So I would rather be outside than inside. And that's how I've been all my life. I was a tomboy when I was a little girl. And so, you know, that's just translated into what I'm drawn to as an adult. So I'm interested in what nature feels like. I really love the change of seasons and how there's a metamorphosis that happens. There's a process of, growth and new beginnings, and then there's decay and death, and then a rebirth. And I'm just fascinated with that whole thing.
Wow. So you get really into it, and then you sit in nature. You're talking about your recent series. You were just meditating in a spot. Could you talk maybe a little about that spot that you were sitting in? Like what kinds of spots you're drawn to?
I like just something quiet, and it can be an expansive place where you're like, where you have a long view, or it could be, I just like kind of deserted beaches and places in the woods where there's really not a trail anymore.
Mm.
I like kind of the rawness, I suppose, the unspoiled parts of nature, and just sitting with that and really being observant. And I think mindful meditation is a good way to, ground yourself and get in touch with your surroundings. And so I have a ritual of hiking and doing mindful meditation in nature, and then coming back into my studio to do work.
So it's really about this like cycle where you go out and then you come back into the space. You go out and come back. So you're not like taking the work and going out and painting. You're kind of
Mhm.
sitting with the nature and coming back into the space.
Right. Yeah, I don't like to, I take photographs sometimes when I'm in nature, but I don't work from photographs. I really want to work from a memory of a place, the impression of something, because I'm trying to recreate a feeling. So my work is more of uh, an abstraction of an intention, of something felt in nature. Maybe it's calmness, but maybe it's change, decay. When you in the fall, there's so many different stages. You see still some new leaves on a tree. You see some changing color. You see some falling off. You see some disintegrating into tiny little pieces. So it's that kind of thing that I am drawn to.
And what's your process of meditating with those small little pieces? Is like the leaves are falling apart or the water's changing or the seasonal change is happening. How do you really sit with it? How do you get into that mind space where you're able to sit with it?
Well, mindful meditation is focusing on the breath and trying to calm your body, where you're really at this Zen state. And then I think you can more, you can observe things in a better way. There's a higher observance that you have. You're more in tune to the details that you might have missed if you were just walking by.
Do you have someone particular that you follow to learn mindful meditation, or you just kind of pick it up from different people, or did you learn it yourself? What's your kind of process?
Yeah, I had a great yoga teacher that I went to for almost 15 years, and she really is the person who taught me. She's no longer teaching yoga anymore, and I've moved on to other yoga teachers. But I have a meditation app on my phone. But I've done mindful meditation so often that I can get in the zone pretty quick.
So what's the app on your phone that do you have any suggestions for people out there?
There's a couple. One is called, I think, Insight Timer, and then there's Headspace. It's really whatever there's several. I'm not really supporting one particular app.
Right. It's about the process of mindful
Yeah,
meditation and kind of, for everybody else out there, just kind of like maybe like finding a way to be introduced to these different ideas. I know we have a couple comments in the a couple questions down here. I want to
sure.
get to those, but I just wanted to, give you some time to really talk about that for anybody who's not a
Yeah.
practitioner of mindfulness or who might like to get into that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Let me get my husband to help me again. I want to show you. So I have a new painting that I started, and it started right after a hike, and I have no idea where it's going. But it was kind of my initial response after being out. There's several parks in Atlanta, several great hiking trails, and so after returning from a hike, this is what I started. So I'll let him pan the camera around.
Perfect.
Actually, we have to. Okay. So I'll let you do that.
Bear with me.
Oh, we're bearing with you. This is all exciting. I'm excited to see what we're doing.
So it kind of feels landscapey already, but I didn't intend for that. And I'm using colors that, I'm using a lot of colors in the pandemic that I don't always use, and actually some I never use. So, pink has been a recent addition to my palette. I don't really use pink that much. So right now, this painting is a little bit too sweet for me. There'll be a lot more layers coming. But this would be a response after a hike.
Wow. So then you just kind of do layer after layer. You let like each layer dry, and then it becomes.
Yeah, this will get probably, I don't know, at least 6 or 7 more layers. I'm not really sure. Time will tell. We'll see what happens in the next few weeks.
Wow, that's pretty big. That's a huge painting you got there.
It's about, I think when it's stretched, it'll be about 60 by 66, something like that.
Okay. How many feet? Okay, that's a few feet. Feet. I'm like,
Yeah, so 5 feet by about 5.5 feet.
okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just like getting used to this, like painting large, like making large pieces again. I sold my first 6 foot by 27 inch with my biggest piece like last week. So I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. Like big piece, and then I sold this like tiny little thing. So I was like, oh, it's like interesting, like scale,
Right.
really. And how do people, have that with them? This where do you find is interesting for people to like have the large pieces in their homes?
Well, actually, a lot of people have large homes, and they're out there, and I guess they do internet searches for large pieces, but I would love a bigger studio because I paint a lot of 5 foot by 6 foot canvases, but in a larger studio, I would do 10 foot by 10 foot or even bigger because that's what I'm really craving is to go even larger. But you're limited by your space. But I'm able to work on 2 5 by 6 foot paintings in here, no problem. Sometimes 3 if I have to. I've done that for a commission before.
Wow, cool. So you'd like to go 10 foot by 10 foot?
Yeah, yeah. I like to feel like I'm in it when I'm doing it, when I'm painting it, and then when it's finished. It's like you're creating a new world. and you can feel like you could step into that painting. So
Wow.
that's intriguing to me.
That's so beautiful. Kind of like take that impression and then step right into that painting, that thing that you've created, and then it kind of becomes this reality kind of thing. Is
Something like
that
that. Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah.
Cool. I think we should answer some of these questions here. We've got a couple questions. So Julie asked, when you were first starting out and you wanted to get serious about the business side, what did you do to market your work?
Well, I think one of the main things you can do as an artist is collect emails of people who like your work. So that was probably the most important thing and one of the first things I did. And being an artist, I believe there's an audience for everyone. And the business side of art is finding your audience, finding your people who understand your work, who love your work, and who are willing to pay you money for it. So that was probably the best thing I did. So I have a mailing list of several thousand people, and I'm able to keep them up on what I'm doing, what's new from my studio, where my shows are going to be, that sort of thing.
How often do you send out an email?
Usually about every 5 or 6 weeks.
Okay, cool. And how's that that like connection to the email list been since the pandemic? Has that changed at all? Because
You
it's
know,
strange.
I've actually, I think it's improved. So I always have people write me in response to the newsletter that I send out. And I've had some great conversation with collectors, and we've even gotten on the phone and talked for a long time. I have many collectors that have become good friends. Um, we share common interests, and I visit them. We're we do things together. So the newsletter list has been a great opportunity to stay connected and enrich connections that I have with my collector base, because they're in the pandemic too, so we're all in the same boat. They're having their own struggles, and it's been nice to talk to one another. And frankly, they've been super supportive. I mean, I've been so touched at my collectors. Many of them have called and emailed, and they're checking on me. And some of them have moved or bought new properties, and they have bought several of my paintings even during the pandemic. So I haven't really seen a big slowdown in any type of art selling during the pandemic. And I know I'm probably in a minority, but I think it's good to connect with people. Connect with your people.
You do a really good job of that. What advice for connecting with people out there through your, with your work would you suggest for the other artists out there?
Well, I think that, any opportunity you have for your art to be seen is important. So, my husband and I joke and say, we have to leave the compound. The art has to leave the house, the studio, and go out into the world and be seen. Art, creating art, for me, I want people to view it. I want them to connect with it. I want them to react to it. So that is important. And of course, right now that's super challenging because we're all the viral numbers are going up, and we're all kind of stuck at home. So there's a lot of virtual viewing happening with both galleries and artists alike. But there's a lot of people on Instagram. There's a lot of people on Facebook. So there are certainly opportunities for your work to be seen.
Yeah, how do you feel like the gallery scene is going? Because you've been working with different galleries over time. Mm-hmm. So have you been hearing anything from them, or what they're doing, or how you're able to work with them during this time?
Yeah, so most of my galleries are somewhat closed, and they're doing appointment, visits. So they'll do maybe a couple of visits a day with collectors by appointment, so that they can clean the gallery in between. Others are doing virtual shows. It just depends on the gallery. So they're struggling as much as artists are. And I've been in touch with all of them, and they're hanging on. It's been tough, but most of the galleries that I'm in have been through the Great Recession of 2008, and they got through that. So they're kind of viewing this as a similar hurdle, although this one we're not sure what the end point is going to be.
Right, right. This doesn't have a near future type of thing. So
Yeah.
it's a tricky situation. And I guess that's why I'm
Yeah.
asking you what you've been hearing. Because I think that's good to be talking about these things in
Yeah.
a larger space and including artists and galleries in on these conversations, like what to do now. I know I've been working with this gallery and had my first solo painting show open this last week, and
Congratulations.
thank you, thank you. It was a lot. It's a lot to hang a show and
Yeah.
figure out how to open things, and being safe in the pandemic
Yeah.
is, and like private viewings, and what does that mean, and how many people in this like 1,600 square foot space. It's like, okay, like 2 to 3 people. So it's like how to rotate and be like, so I don't know, that's what I'm kind of figuring out, but like also like it's a whole set of challenges.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, everybody's trying to maneuver through this. And one of the things I mentioned it before, I'm going to be starting my own online workshop in August, but I'm also doing one with my friend Julie Schumer.
Oh
We,
yes.
yeah, we usually teach in person a workshop called Boldly Abstract. And we had to cancel it, the in-person version of it this year. So we're going to be teaching that online, and that'll start in September. And the other thing, you were talking about some of the business pieces of art. We're also working on the business of art as a workshop. We're going to be putting
Oh.
together, we have combined, we each have, I don't know, I've been painting, showing my work for 23 years, Julie about the same. So we have, almost 5 decades of experience. So that particular course will launch at the beginning of the year. But, so one of the things I'm doing, I'm thinking about how could I be helping somebody else? And I have a lot of things I've learned over the years, so I want to share those things with other people, and maybe there'll be something in there that really helps them. So
That's beautiful. Well, that's why we'll have some comments today. Maybe it'll get some questions for further thought, like the big painting, and you'll find the
that's right. That's right.
fine thing. Right? So from from Pamela, she asked, is color representation a spontaneous process for you?
It is. I do have some pre-mixed colors that I've harmonized already. So, a harmonized color are colors that have a relationship to one another because they share a color in common. So I have tubs of harmonized colors that I might grab from. But I don't plan out a palette. I pretty much go with my gut, and I mix colors as I go. I mix colors on the canvas sometimes. So it's more of an intuitive type thing.
Beautiful. Rebecca asks, what kind of paint do you use?
For acrylic paint, I like Golden and Nova. I do, you probably saw in my bins, I've got a sprinkling of Senilé and Liquitex and some other paints, but Nova and Golden are my go-tos. For oil paint, I like Gamblin and what are my painting sticks? I have some oil painting drawing materials, but I can't think of the brand name right now. I'm sure it'll come to me.
Perfect. Let's see. I think we have one more question from Vivian.
Mm-hmm.
Vivian asks, do you like to sit in grass?
Not particularly. I mean, I'll sit in nature somewhere, but somewhere as comfortable as possible.
What does that look like for you?
Um, a beach is always nice, but hiking in the woods, a lot of time there's a rock or um, a part of a tree that's a stump that is there that's kind of a natural seating position. So something like that.
That's beautiful. So like finding natural seating positions and letting them be. Do you like to go back to the same spots, or is it always like a different spot? Or how do you come to find these spots?
Well, I love going hiking anywhere, so I'll look for trails. In Georgia, there's a lot of hiking trails, and so some that are more interesting, I'll go back to. I don't really have favorite spots. I just like to. I like that idea of going out. There's no plan, and you don't know what you're going to see, what will influence you. So I'd rather not have like a spot I keep returning to. I'd
That's
rather it to be a little bit more spontaneous.
beautiful. And do you like to go just take your car and drive for an hour or two, and or like what is that like? Do you like look stuff up, or how do you go about finding these like trails, or
Yeah,
what is that?
I'll plan where I'm going. I'll look stuff up ahead of time, and then drive to wherever. I'll go. I don't know, a few hours away, and hike, and then spend the day there, and then come back.
Wow. So that's like a good like so by a few you mean like 2, 3 hours like
Yeah,
each
yeah,
way. Wow.
yeah. I'll get up early. Leave the house by 7 in the morning. Get to the hiking trail by 9 or 10, and then you know hike till maybe 4, and then come back home. Yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's like that's it's just really cool to like know like what your day is like. And do you immediately go to canvas after that, or is it just kind of like the next day or whenever it happens?
It depends. All of the above. It just depends on the day. Sometimes I'll go right to the canvas and do some drawing and kind of get it started, or I'll just wait and the next day, see what comes.
Cool. Um, so let's see. Henrietta asked, um, any tips for approaching galleries?
Most galleries on their website will have their submission guidelines. So they usually want you to email a portfolio of your work, or they might want your biography or your artist statement. So any gallery that you're researching, they're pretty specific with how they want artists to approach them.
Okay, so just kind of look. So would you say just like go out and search for different places? I know I was talking to Julie on a previous one, and she had a very specific approach, and I was wondering if your approach is similar or different, or
Yeah. So
what's.
right.
Mhm.
So you need to find a gallery where your work would kind of go with the other artists that are already there. So my work is more abstract. So if I find a gallery that is representational and really hyper realistic with nothing else that leans towards abstract, that's not where I belong. So I would seek out a gallery that has my type of work, but not my exact type of work, where I could fill in a hole, and I would have something to bring new to that roster of artists.
Wow. So you have like a very specific criteria of what you're looking for in a gallery, and then you'll reach out and say like, "Hey, let's talk."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, galleries have often found me. So some of the galleries that I'm in, approached me and said, "We think you would be a great addition," and so we've talked, and that's how some of my gallery relationships have originated.
Wow. And that's normally just like an email or something like that, and then you pick up the phone, or what's that
Yeah,
like?
yeah, email, phone call, all the above.
All of the above. Cool. I think it's just important to know you got to be comfortable on the phone for this, right?
Yeah.
Um, and you're not afraid to be on the camera either, it seems.
Well, I mean, I feel like I'm just talking to you, so.
Right. That's
I'm
pretty
not,
much all it is you're talking to
yeah,
me. Like, that's all we're doing here.
yeah.
Let's see. Rebecca asked, do you varnish or add a special finish to your acrylic paintings, canvas, or paper?
I do use a varnish. I use a Liquitex satin varnish. That's a finishing varnish. And by finishing varnish, it means that it's the final coat. You're not going to be able to keep painting on top of that. And I do that to protect from dirt and light. It has a UV protectant in it. So that way, I think it just gives some longevity to the work without changing the sheen too much.
That's beautiful. So Kim joined late, but that's okay. Do you sketch when you hike or take photos, or both?
Usually neither. I will sometimes take photos, but I really just try to sit in nature. And after doing a mindful meditation, I just try to be a good observer. I will zone out staring at the shape of leaves, or something that's decaying or something that's sprouting, and how the light is hitting that. And I'll just try to hold that in my mind. So, I really am not trying to create anything literal. I'm trying to create that impression.
I think Julie wants a little bit more clarification on where you find galleries and how they approach you. How do you put your work out there? Like, are you maybe Googling, or are you searching through databases? How are you finding these galleries?
So I always say you need to look at a gallery in person first. So if my husband and I are traveling, we will always go to whatever local galleries we can find. We want to see what they're like. How do they treat you? What is their space like? What's the type of work? And, so you can explore both online, but before I would commit to a gallery, I really would want to see that gallery in person, because online, some of the photos can make it look like they have this giant space, or, and then when you get there, it might be smaller, and it might not be exactly what you had, what you thought it was. So, I don't know, Julie, what else do you want to know? For me, I mean, probably half my galleries, I've been invited to be in that gallery. And I have a list of questions that I ask them. So I want to know, is everything insured in the gallery? How are they going to promote me? How often is my work going to be up on the walls? Are they going to have a show for me? Am I going to be in a group show? Do they show everybody's work at one time? So I have a list of questions. When I do I have to pay for shipping my work to the gallery, or returning any unsold work, that sort of thing. I want to know about the relationship of that gallery, and what their expectations are, and what they do for their artists. So it's a little bit of an interview, right? When an artist is considering a gallery, the gallery is going to be interviewing the artist, because they want to be sure that the artist can create a lot of work, so that when they need work, they can easily get the work. And the artist in turn needs to interview the gallery to know how that relationship is going to work.
That's really interesting. I'm really interested in these different questions that you're interviewing because that's something that I think you're really bringing up that hasn't come across in some of my previous interviews that I've talked to different artists. Um, so if you have any other ideas of like what things that you're specifically looking for when you ask these questions, I'd be happy to hear that.
Yeah,
Like, you
so
know, with in terms of shipping and pricing and promoting, like what do you want? Because that's the whole thing. If you have to promote the whole show, it's a lot of work, especially if you're the one coming from out of town, right?
right, right. I mean, I think that each gallery has their own protocol or way that they do business. And so you need to learn what that is. And so those are the kinds of questions you want to know what to expect. You know, when will you get paid? Will you get paid right when your work is sold, or will it be net 30, which means you'll be paid a month later? Um, you know, how do they handle discounts? Do they discount? Will they split the discount with you, or do they take it on their end? Or, you know, um, and so I think, you know, talking to your gallery frequently. So the galleries that I'm in, I try to connect with on a monthly basis to see how they're doing. You know, what can I be doing to help them sell my work? And, you know, because it's a business relationship.
How do you manage those relationships, if you don't mind me asking? Like, you know, you're calling them up and you're like, okay, you need more of this series of work or that series of work. And how do you manage that balance with your own, like, I just want to journal and do this really cool thing or like explore this way?
Well, you know, every artist has a portion of their week that has to be dedicated to the business of art. Whether that's, you know, whether you view that as you're talking with your galleries or your marketing, or, you know, organizing your studio or ordering supplies or whatever that is. So, you know, so that's part and parcel of your week there. You know, so I try to segment, you know, certain days of the month where, okay, this is when I'm going to be trying to get, you know, get in touch with my galleries and see what's going on. And, you know, so it's a juggling act as an artist, right?
It is. It is. And how about like hanging your show? Like, how do you ever have any help hanging the show, or is it just like you in the gallery and then they're like, "All right, see you later." Like, what's that like for you? And what do you enjoy?
Yeah, so each gallery is different. So, you know, some of the galleries I'm in will hang the show, of course, by themselves. And then you know, they might ask me, you know, if I have a favorite piece to put near the front or something, but they often will hang the show. And then, of course, you have to be there a little bit early before your opening reception. And, you know, I don't really, I guess I don't really hang a show. The gallery, that's the gallery's job. So I'm not really sure what, you know,
Well,
what,
I guess I've just had different experiences, so
yeah, yeah.
that's
So,
cool.
yeah. So, you know, I think that's part of the gallery's job. You know, they are putting on shows. They should be hanging the shows and kind of preparing the layout of the show, and the artist can have some input into that. There's definitely some exchange there, but ultimately, it's the gallery who is going to be, um, you know, deciding somewhat the flow through their gallery.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, people are excited to apply this to their own art. So that's really good information, I think. Vivian says she's taking notes, so you
Great.
know.
That's
It,
awesome.
is this going to be part of your part of the course with Jolie?
Yeah, so Julie and I we're putting together two courses. We are translating our in-person Boldly Abstract course into an online version. That's in progress, and that'll be coming out in September. And we're also doing the same with a course that we're calling the Business of Art. And the business of art is going to go from A to Z. It's going to, we're going to tell you everything about anything having to do with the business of art, because there are so many pieces, right? Not just gallery relationships. And
tell us a couple so that people are like, oh, okay, here's some
yeah.
topics I need to know more about.
Well, so let's say you're just starting. Let's say you wake up today and you say, okay, I want to be an artist. I want to start my business. So what are you going to call your business? Is your business going to be a sole proprietorship? Is it going to be an LLC? Is it going to be a corporation? And we talk about, why would you pick any, each individual option? Do you have a relationship with an accountant? How are you going to keep track of your sales and your expenditures? How are you going to market your work? How are people going to find you? How are you going to develop relationships with people who could show your work? How do you find those people? How do you find art consultants? How do you find the right gallery? How do you deal with all the ins and outs of social media? How do you present yourself? Do you have business cards? What do they look like? How do you get them made? It just goes on and on and on. So, I mean, the business of art is a big bucket of stuff. And it's hard to figure out all these things. And, Julie and I have done it. We have figured out things to a large extent. Now, I'm not saying that means we know everything, but, we've been doing this a long time. And so we have a lot to share.
Yeah, there's so much between the two of you. Now that I've been talking with the two of you on my lives, it's like, I just hope the people who are watching can go back and check out the discussion I had with Julie and now with you here. Yeah. So here, we have another question from Fluid.
Sure.
We've got two questions. What galleries represent you? If you'd like to share any of the galleries. She asks how many, but you don't have to give a numbers game here. But if you want to say something about them, you can.
Well, I love all the galleries that I work with, and I have about 9 right now. I have to think about it. I have 8 in the United States, and I have 1 in London, and they're all over the U.S. I have 1 in Madison, Wisconsin, 1 in Chicago. I have 3 in Florida. I have I won't. I'm going to leave somebody out. So they're kind of all over. And like I said, they have found me or I have found them.
Wow. And then you end up traveling we only have 2 minutes left.
Oh, okay.
These things go fast. Thank you so much.
I know. It's
I have so many more questions.
Well, what's the other question?
Do you miss the shows? And Vivian says, oh my God, I'm in Florida. Which ones are they? She wants to schedule her private viewings. You'll have to write those in your stories.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, in Florida, I'm in Gallery 1 in Naples. I'm in Studio E Gallery in West Palm Beach, and I'm in Art on Center in Fernandina Beach.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much for doing this with me today. I've learned so much. Well, I hope everybody else out there has learned.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, Aaron, and I hope you got a little peek into my world. And if the workshops are close to finish, if anybody's interested in the workshops, there's a link in my profile where you can add yourself to my workshop list. And on that email list, we'll be giving people the opportunity to sign up for the workshops as soon as they're available. So they're right around the corner.
Thank you. And for everybody who's not following one of us, please follow the other one right up here. And thank you so much. Have a very mindful, beautiful day. Get out into some nature.
Absolutely. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you. Take care.
Pleasure's mine.
Bye.
Bye.